Well, to say education is important is definitely an understatement, because education is the basic right of every human being on this planet. Now, education is in fact the most important weapon, a tool to improve one's life, yes, and the environment we live in, the society we live in. Education builds character. It shapes mindset, helps in communication skill, and most importantly, helps towards a healthy and a progressive society. Now, the discussion today has 5 broad segments, and we will be touching upon, and our focus will be in areas such as employability and world readiness. We will be focusing our attention on the quality of education. We will also be focusing our attention towards teaching approach, student retention, and the key component of mental health and emotional well-being. So this is in broad, the 5 segments that we will be touching upon today in this panel discussion. And I'm indeed very, very glad to have our panelists here. May I quickly go ahead and tell who are our panelists. We have Dr. Maisel Ampreen Lingdaw. Her introduction has already been given. Of course, she's the Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Meghalaya. We have Shri H.M. Shamtyang, the Advisor, Department of Education, Government of Meghalaya. We also have Shri Jagdish Chalani. He is from the IAS and the Deputy Commissioner presently of West Garo Hills. We have Shri R. Thankyu, who is the Principal, Mairang Presbyterian Science College at Mairang. We have Brother Solomon Morris, Principal St. Edmund School, Shillong. We have Dr. Pinsuk Lin Amyong. She is the Professor, Department of English, Shankar Dev College, Shillong. And not to forget, we have Rahul Chatterjee, a teacher from Jail Road Boys, assistant teacher or professor from Jail Road Higher Secondary School. Well, we have so much to discuss, really. But going by the theme that we have chosen, that is preparing Meghalaya for the world, I think this is the time, the most apt time, as MBOS is celebrating 50 years, as the state has just passed the threshold of 50 years and gone and planning for the next 50 years, I think this is the best time and the moment to talk about education and to energize our education system and what we have it. My focus right now is on the first segment, and that is employability and world readiness. Shri R. Thankyu, I bring you in firstly. What are your thoughts on making us understand the standardizing practice of STEM, S-T-E-M, that is science, technology, engineering, and math? Because math is another area where our students fear a little bit. But then these are important pillars of our education system. Tell us a little bit about it, sir.
I went to Mairang as a science principal, not that I am looking for a job. It is because they need of somebody to start this college, and I am still stuck with this college till now. What I will tell you, perhaps it will give you some reflection, that it is a myth. We used to hear, right from our student days, that tribal boys in general are not good enough, or they don't like to study mathematics. In some point of time, while I was in service, we used to conduct talent search in science and maths. And I have seen that a lot of talent is there in our boys, not necessarily in the town, but spread over the rural areas of Meghalaya. So as an example, when I went to started this college at Mairang, it is because of what you said, the approach to teaching. That is the basic thing. So, right in the 70s, it continues to the mid-80s. You'll find that in most of our rural areas, the teachers are coming from different parts of the country. And these teachers are recruited. I was involved in the recruitment of these teachers for private school, government school, at whatever level I was, through the intervention of the inspector of school. So what we have seen is that so many interviews we conducted, but the teachers do not stay there. They do not know how to communicate the subject to the students. They don't speak English, perhaps not so well, and they do not know the local language. So I do not know what transpire in their teaching in the class. So this is one big drawback. What I have seen is that our boys are quite good in science and mathematics, especially from the rural areas. You can well judge. You go to the NEHU, Department of Science, you'll find most of the Khasi boys who study science are from rural areas. So talent is there. What I have seen in my college is that during the past 2-3 years, we have produced not less than 30 BSc honors in mathematics, which everybody thinks that is a difficult subject. And this year also, I think about 30 to 35 students of our students there will appear BSc honors in mathematics, unless in life sciences, which is what we used to see in these colleges in the towns. So it is because of the approach to teaching. I won't spend much time on this, but what you can see is this. You see, madam, when you look at this NEET question, what did you see there? Why so many students fail? Why? You ask that question. Questions that are there are conceptual questions. And these are not taught in the school. We stuff the minds of our students with information, not with knowledge, and not with skills to use that knowledge. So this is one basic problem which is existing in our education system right from the primary level up to, I can say, even to master degree level.
To a large extent, yes, I agree with sir. Thank you. Today, when I look at the curriculum of, let's say, IB or the British curriculum, I have a few students of these curricula. What I notice is that they adapt very quickly. Let's take a simple example. Today, the buzzword in the industry is data. Everything is data-driven. And immediately, even at the class 11 level, the British curriculum has introduced topics where they analyze data at a very simple level, but already the introduction is there, the mindset is already introduced, they know what can come after that, and that is perhaps where we lack. The change, we have to be more quick in adapting to changes, to requirements of the market. And what Sir said, I agree that communication, a lot of our children are very poor at communication, and communication need not necessarily be spoken word communication. It's also written communication, and today the demand is for communication of data in pictorial form. That's a huge demand. Because it is a data-driven society, we want data to be represented in various forms. And this is a skill. Of course, AI is doing it, but then there is someone who actually does it for AI. So those people will be in demand always. So those are the kind of jobs that are never going to die out. And so that is the kind of people we need to create. These are the kind of trainings we need to give to our children.
Now let me come back once again to our political leaders here. I come to you, Ma'am Amperine. You have given a very, very soulful speech just now. But then you have also been in the education department before. So as somebody who's already been in the department, what do you have to say of the present education scenario in the state of Meghalaya?
I always feel very disheartened when I see headlines in the newspapers which, condemn efforts being put in to better the education department. For some strange reason, there is this feeling that everybody who goes to school has to come up with excellent results. You're expected to, you go through a system in a mechanical way, and you're supposed to come out of it, and then you're supposed to love your life. But I think the kids of this generation are not like that anymore. Nobody wants to go to school and nobody wants to be forced to learn something, especially parroting information. Our kids are far smarter in this generation. Sometimes students get intimidated when, teachers get intimidated when students ask them questions, because their exposure to the highway of information is far greater than any teacher's capacity to think. I think teachers are refusing to allow kids to speak up. Teachers are allowing kids to pent up a lot of their emotions in their minds and in their hearts. Teachers are comparing students in a classroom. Why don't you be with XY who's brilliant? Look at you, you're hopeless. So you see, this condemnation starts from a very young age. And I think that this has to change. And there is another very big concern that I am observing in my constituency. You cannot learn enough only in a classroom in your school. You have to go for tuitions. Now that again is creating a huge pressure on children. And most kids get so exhausted by the end of the day that this exhaustion results in zeroing down of zero information. So we need to now look at this. Let us, like the Honorable Chief Minister said, kids should come up with suggestions, not us. You know, kids have to tell us. I mean, do all kids have to be toppers?
Right.
What happens to the non-toppers? Why? Is there no space for these people in the system? A job, you yourself said, job opportunities are huge today. I may not be good in science and maths, but I can make myself a very good technician if I'm given that opportunity. Why is it that every child must want to be a doctor, an engineer? I don't know how these children feel about it.
Right.
But some of them have so much information, and whenever they question a child, a teacher gets immediately offended. So things have to change. Classrooms have to change.
Absolutely, a well-taken point from there. And now coming to skills. I come to you, Brother Solomon, because you're heading an institution. So according to you, what role does skills also play in bridging this gap between, between a student and his or her chances of getting employed?
I think a lot of these boards, I know for one that ICSE and now even MBOs and other CBSE boards are bringing in a whole lot of, what you spoke about, financial literacy, different skills. If you look at some of the things that we've been doing, some of the schools that have been doing, we have been doing this, but it's just that we didn't name it as, life skills and stuff like that, because we have a lot of competitions and different activities like for Creation Week and stuff like that, where we give children the opportunity to perform cookery, fashion designing, documentary making, film making, kite flying, whatever. So these are there.
Yes.
But if you don't mind, I would like to just go a little bit off, talking about Meghalaya and the education. I was quite inspired with what our Honorable Chief Minister said regarding the change in the mindset. And I think he really hit the nail on the head.
Right.
Because if we want to make any difference to the education, we need to change the mindset. The teachers have to change the mindset, and the children, the most powerful nation in the world, imagination. If you look at our kids, they are so imaginative. We need to change. I think what I've just written on a few things. We need to have quality teachers, real quality teachers, and teachers who have to be researchers. Not just you get your degree and that's it, you stop learning. You need to continuously develop yourselves, okay? I'm also going to the rural areas. I'm very concerned about the children in the rural areas. So for that, I feel, why should we have only a few B.Ed colleges in the city? Why can't we set up, again, change the mindset, look at things positively? Why can't we set up teacher training centers in the rural areas?
Right.
You know, we don't have to have a, state-of-the-art BEd or something like that, but teach the children how to read.
Any one of you would like to add to what Brother Solomon has just said? I come to you, Bahima, because you are also very somebody who's very passionate and you want to bring about a change. And that is why, of course, you're also appointed in the right department. Any quick thoughts on what Brother has just mentioned?
I was about to come to the same point which Brother has just mentioned. These gray areas need to be addressed.
Okay.
One such area is the one that Brother just mentioned about, first thing first, about the mindset. Secondly, about the way that education is being imparted in the schools. All of you would be very shocked to know that when we did a little bit of survey and analysis, we found that from class 1 to class 12, our children have to study about 600 books. This is getting a bit too much. The Honorable Minister has made up his mind that we need to lessen the number of books. Can you imagine a class 1 child would be carrying about 11 to 12 books on her back? Now I know all my children here, how heavy they feel when they go to the classrooms. Am I right or not? You want us to lessen the burden of the books? Yes, this we are going to do. We have to change the curriculums. We are going to change the syllabus for you. We are going to change the curriculum for you. The changes that we're looking into. The numbers of books first. Then we are going to look into the syllabus. Because with a new education policy, we would like our children to be at par with any children of the mainland country. Now, I cannot afford to see my child sitting for a CUET exam and failing it. I don't want to see my child sitting for a Z exam or a GMAT exam and failing it. Why? It is because the foundation is poor. Therefore, we will try our best to bring the changes at the earliest possible, maybe from the next academic session, that is next year on if we can, so that all our children will get a new syllabus, which is equivalent to any syllabus of the mainland country, so that our children are at par with the rest of the country.
So happy news all around, right? Happy news. Oh, you've got a good amount of ovation. I mean, this gives us a perception, this gives us a sense that our students are burdened, not only with the heavy syllabus, with a heavy bag load, with the exams, and they have their other pressures also. The peer pressure is also there. Sir Jagdish Chilani, you are very passionate about your field, that is, civil services. And one of your passion, one of your dream and your desire is to see more people, more of our youth actually make it to that top level. And for that, I believe you're also thinking of opening more coaching centers, because this is one area that is still not tapped yet. So what is your vision really when we are talking about preparing our students for the civil services examination?
It is actually great dear to me that I really would love to see more civil servants in the state.
Right.
That basically underlines a factor that we have a setup or an ecosystem where student can study, and that becomes one of the markers for a good educational system or an educational ecosystem in the state. And for that matter, I think that gives it that we have good students who go into JEE Advance, who go into NEET examinations, who go into UPSC, civil services examinations, but also for other examinations that are out there, so that they are able to represent not just the state, but the culture of the state, the ethos of the state, and the kind of value system that we bring into the national ecosystem.
Right.
So that has been the thought overall,
Okay.
and that's
We
how
wish
it
you all
is.
the very best with a dynamic leader like him right in the forefront. I'm sure that you are in the right track and there will be changes and we will have some civil servants, someday future civil servants who are there in the midst. I come back to Paul quickly to, if I can just, rope you in also in this discussion, sir. As leader, as policy maker also, and when we are addressing the question of empowering the youth, how can we really empower our youth for an all-round development, irrespective of which background or which particular corner of the state they come from? What is your thought on this for an all-round development of a student?
To me, the best definition of education came from the Irish poet W.B. Yeats, when he said that education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a spark. Now, on the contrary, what the education system has done so far is to continue to pour water on that spark. And therefore, many of the youngsters, including many of you here in this audience, are totally challenged by the very system, the education system that is supposed to bring out the best in you. And as a youth leader, I say this with a lot of concern, that the quality of education in Meghalaya has gone down drastically. We used to produce the cream of the top amongst the education system here in the northeast, and not just northeast. In fact, I recall going to Dhaka and meeting very senior bureaucrats, all of who are proud of their link to Shillong, having been schooled in Shillong. Today we have a system which, as Brother Morris had mentioned earlier, we are stuck by the road system, the road method of education, which is so, which saps the energy of the youth, and we continue to languish now, having one of the highest dropout rates in the country. So it's really a matter of concern, and I think we should go back to that definition where we light the spark of youngsters rather than continue to fill pails of water.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Paul, for your opening comments. But then I need to bring in Pinsuk Lin. So, performing art spaces is one of your forte. And this is one arena, because our children, our youth are so talented. Guitar comes into them naturally. Singing comes, when they sing, they have a little slight sway, they can tap their feet so well. And there's a rhythm, right? Music is in their blood, literally. Yet we are not tapping this enough, I feel. Because our youth, we still make them believe that it is government job and government job alone that they should go for. We don't encourage them to build their other qualities, their other hobbies into employable job avenues. What is your thought on this, and how do we explore this and link academics with this as well?
When we talk of performing arts, really, I feel as of today, there are a lot more opportunities today than years back. Now, I think with the implementation of the NEP 2020, where especially for me, I'm in the higher education, I don't teach in school, so I'll speak a bit about that because in the higher education setup as we speak now, there will be a lot of opportunities actually for students to take up a lot of courses We do have a skills enhancement courses. We now will have value-added courses, multidiscipline courses, ability enhancement courses. So under skill enhancement courses, what the university has done is given the, given the opportunity for the colleges to decide which course you're going to take up for developing the skills. So depending on the whatever institution that you're in, so some institutions would, sort of opt for music. I think it'll be a very great learning opportunity if those who have the talent for music, whether it is singing or playing instruments or compositions of songs, they will be given credits for it.
Right.
So that is one thing that the NEP has brought about, and it is up to the educational institutions concerned whether they will explore these kind of talents and give students credit for them.
Yeah, but having said so, ma'am, I would like to ask you, are the educational institutions also equipped? Are they ready to shoulder this kind of huge change that NEP is trying to bring?
Well,
Yeah,
change is always,
Change is the only constant, right? Change is the
Yes.
only constant. Change has to come
So,
about. But then this is another area that we need to look, NEP is coming well and good, but how much are our institutions actually ready to shoulder this huge responsibility that is coming up? Now let us come, we will be talking about it a little bit more, but when we come about to the aspect of, another aspect of discussion today, that is the quality of education. When we are talking about the quality of education, definitely the government is on the right track. It is trying its best to continually examine, what newer efforts are required, and wherever it was possible, it has implemented, it is trying to bring the changes as and when required. But then, when we are talking about accessibility, when we are talking about infrastructure, when we are talking about teaching quality, teachers' quality also, these are some of the areas, the thrust areas we thought we should also discuss. Now, before I bring in the political leaders, I thought I'll go to the teachers really to understand. So I bring in Mr. Thankyu once again. Mr. Thankyu, tell us what are the current gaps in our education framework?
I think since one of our panelists has pointed out the need to change the curriculum, I think this is, we have to need to look after this. But I know, we are following the education system of the country. We have got the national policy on education. We have got once in 1986, it was implemented. I was very much there in the process. I know what are the gaps, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses. Now, a new education policy now. I don't know when it will be implemented. Up till now, we are not very sure. Whenever there is change, there is always the resistance. That is known to everybody. The question you are asking, whether we are ready or not, that is also another question. If you give me 1 year, if you give me 2 years, if you give me 3 years, or you do not give me time, I think if I do today or I do 1 year later, I'll have to start from zero.
Right.
So whatever existing facilities are here, in my mind, we are ready for the new education policy. I don't know, may not be shared by everybody. Not that in its, ideal way, not in that utopian way, but we can make a start. And the most difficult thing is that to make the first step. So if we do not take the first step now, then I'm afraid our children, they will have to bear these consequences. So I think what our Chief Minister has rightly pointed out, we have to look from a different perspective, from a different point of view, and accept these challenges and convert them into opportunities, rather than submitting ourselves to these challenges. So this is very important point that I'd like to emphasize here. What I feel is that whenever we talk about the curriculum, brother has telling us about the evaluation system in the school. It is very much here. It is not foreign to us. We have got continuous comprehensive evaluation system right 20 years back. But how much we have progressed, whether we have fully implemented. All those policies are very good, madam. But implementation is the thing. And for
Absolutely.
implementation, you need man.
Right. But then, as you also said, that the beginning has been made.
Yeah, beginning
We will face certain challenges, but just that doesn't mean that just because we will face challenges, we don't implement it. It will be difficult in the beginning. All things before you start something new is difficult, but then we get into the habit of it, right? And we are all stakeholders in it, and if we all play our role in helping each other, I'm sure we will be in the right track. But then I bring in...
Just a minute, madam.
Yes.
Just allow me.
Yeah.
We are talking about skills. Skills are there very much in the present system. In the new education policy, skills are there.
Right.
Those are not for job. So if we are talking about job, the new education policy has taken care of this in the second year of the undergraduate course.
Okay.
I fully agree with this new education policy, because that is the age where most of our youth will look for job. What we have till class 10, maybe this is a kind of general education with some skills, whatever skills, which is contemplated there. It is being taken care of. This is being taken care in a very professional way at the undergraduate level. So if we think that we align now right from the school, how many things you can teach in a school? You cannot put everything in the school. But basic thing has to be learned. The basic arts has to be learned.
Okay.
This thing has to be taught properly, not in the way that is being taught now.
Right.
So if you think about the standard has falling, maybe this is our fault.
Okay.
Teachers have been appointed. So this recruitment policy will need a relook.
Okay.
You need
Anybody
a relook on
yeah.
this recruitment policy.
Right. So anybody wants to fill in quickly? Rahul, would you like to add on quickly before I move to Brother Solomon?
Well, to me, when you talk about gaps, my firm belief is whether it is NEP or the old system or any system, nothing is going to work unless you have people with passion for what they do.
Exactly.
That is the bottom line. So unless we are able to recruit people who are passionate about teaching, who are passionate about their subjects, who love their subjects more than anything else, who spend most of their wake-up hours with their subjects, we are not going to be able to achieve anything, whether it is the NEP or without NEP, whatever training we may give to them. So ultimately, it's in the recruitment process that we should be able to identify the amount of passion. It's not the amount of knowledge. But with that knowledge, if that person is not passionate, and that is why I say, you see, it's not about the facilities. A passionate teacher can have an entire class spellbound even when the room is dripping and there is a broken blackboard. And I'm absolutely sure about it.
Right.
But it's not the desirable thing. I don't say that that is the desirable thing.
Right.
But it's the passion that counts.
Right. You know, because teaching cannot be just a job. I am not employed, so I go into teaching. You have to have the drive, the passion, you know, to work for the sake of the students. Brother Solomon, quickly, yes.
You know, I just want to raise two concerns.
Right.
One is inclusive education.
Yeah.
We have a lot of kids in school, normal schools, with a lot of hidden disabilities.
True.
We have in our school about 20, 25 kids who fall in the ASD, autism
Right.
spectrum disorder.
Right.
There are other disabilities also. I feel inclusive education is important, and every school should have at least 2 counselors and 2 special educators.
Okay.
I
All right.
feel the need for that.
Yeah.
If you look at the kids I've seen in Edmonds, I'm sure it's for the other schools also, the grades have really fallen after the pandemic. Kids are crying for help. They're so addicted to the mobile phones and the screen time. I'm not saying it's bad, but they are really crying for help. They don't know how to manage time. For that, we need counselors.
Yes. But then talking about infrastructure, talking about what more needs to be done, see, most of our schools, good schools, let us accept this fact that it is Shillong-centric. It is very much Shillong-centric, in and around Shillong. What is the scene in the rural areas? Of course, we saw a few toppers here today who have topped also. That is a very heartening sign. But coming to you, Pinsuklin, you want to share with us a little story or two about what is the scene like in the rural areas?
My research work took me to the very interior villages in the East Khasi Hills, actually. What I have observed is that at least the schools in the district headquarters, in and around the district headquarters, they're doing fairly well, and I have nothing negative to say about them. But when you actually go to the really interior schools, that way you really see the plight of the children there. There was one particular school where there was class 3, class 4, class 5, and class 6, 4 classes all in one room with no partition, no nothing. So, you know, the learning, I was just looking, and although yes, few children here, few children there, and suddenly this one teacher said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" She was telling this little boy, "Oh, you're not supposed to be in my class. You were in class 2. Why are you here in class 3? The child came because his friend was there in class 3, so they were busy talking. So that was an interesting thing to note, but also concerning, because then you don't know what kind of learning is really happening. I was talking to the principal. I said, "How come, you know?" But actually, it is a government school, yes. So 2 of the big rooms have broken down, absolutely broken down. You know, there was no way children could sit there, so makeshift. So that was a makeshift thing, but the makeshift thing was already 1.5 years. It has been going on. So I don't know what's the condition right now, but I hope, you know, they are, you know, they've dealt with that by now. So those are the things. But many schools have gone there, but there's one incident where I would agree with Sir Rahul when you said that the teacher, you know, the effectiveness of the teacher is a very important thing. You know, when a teacher really takes teaching, you know, the profession as a calling, you know, even if you're in the worst of circumstances, yet you try to, you know, to rise to the occasion, I can say. Because there's one very small school somewhere in Maupadai area where, you know, there was nothing. There was a blackboard. Yes, there was not even a duster. They use a rag to even wipe the thing. It was nothing much. But then the teacher has, you know, even though it is she taught not in English, in Khasi, but the way she has engaged the children was something really commendable, even though there was not much infrastructure and all of that. You know, but...
So what I get from you is that the onus of responsibility lies on the teacher. Yes, infrastructure is required, a blackboard and other basic amenities, definitely, but a lot depends on the teacher, you know, for that teacher, how determined or how passionate that teacher is. But then talking about these gaps that we are talking about in the current system, I come to the political readers, Ba Paul and Bahima. What is going on, sir? Because in Garo Hills areas also, there are a lot of proxy teaching. We are told sometimes that there is no teacher, and the ratio between students and teachers also is quite large. How are we addressing these concerns? Bahima, firstly to you. Bapal, will you just take this question firstly?
Well, Maushmi, it's like this. I had already mentioned earlier that there are a lot of gray areas. Now, the gray area in the system has to be corrected. We need to bring the changes. And along with the new education policy, which is on the preparatory stage now, we are adapting the policy to fine-tune it and to customize it to the local conditions. Now, this new education policy is not going to be adopted in toto. We have constituted a task force committee. Now, this task force will examine this new education policy, and it will customize for the benefit of our children and of our teachers.
Absolutely. I think this is a
So this
very,
is
very
where
important.
this
yeah.
is where I mentioned we are going to bring a change. Now, when this change comes with this new policy, which we will be calling the Meghalaya Education Policy,
Okay.
this Meghalaya Education Policy will also take in the best out of the national policy. Now, coming to the gaps, it is only when we start implementing the policy, the national policy, that is when the funds and the resources will also start rolling down from the government of India. That is the time when we are already preparing to give good infrastructures to the schools. There are schools without roofs, there are schools without windows and doors. All these have been listed. Government schools I'm talking about.
Right.
So therefore, efforts are being made by the officers of the department that such gaps would be filled. And therefore, we look forward with the dynamic leadership of the Chief Minister. What we need is the support of the Chief Minister to provide more and more funds to this department. I remember when the Honorable Minister Education and myself, we met the Chief Minister. He mentioned that there are two sectors in the government, in his government, in the MDA government, that will be given priorities. That is the health sector and the education sector. Therefore, we look forward that in the days to come, we would be seeing a new face. We would like to be seeing new education system in the state. And coming to the skills, we also have discussed relating to the skills that in this new policy, as we bring in the new policy in the state, we are also going to give the multidisciplinary skills, the courses, multidisciplinary courses, wherein we are going to provide opportunities for our children from class 6 or class 7 onwards to also take courses on skill development up to the class 12. Therefore, there is also a system wherein if these boys or girls would not like to pursue further in their studies, they can take an off from the studies and go and pursue their livelihood out of the skills that they have been imparted or they have learned.
Absolutely.
Therefore, there are many good things that are happening.
Okay.
We look forward for better days for the children of the state.
One major area which I think should be emphasized upon, which I firmly believe the new state education policy should address, is the fact that we have a large army of unqualified teachers. It is higher than the national average. 43% of our teachers are unqualified. What do you expect out of them?
Okay.
Second, taking a cue from what Rahul had mentioned earlier, we need to go back to that mission mode.
Mission mode.
We have various missions, but we lack missionaries. When the Welsh arrived here,
Right.
they didn't think in terms of where would they sleep tonight, where would they be accommodated, how much would they get paid. But they went on and brought us modern education. That zeal, the zeal of a missionary, should replace the zeal of mercenaries.
Right.
Today we have, as you mentioned, proxy teachers. What is that?
Yeah.
It boils down to your own teaching community subcontracting their jobs to somebody else in order to make more money. So that has to be replaced. And I'm sure that under the leadership of Chief Minister Conrad Sangma, with Bahima and Mr. Rakam leading the team, we should be able to fill in these gaps.
Right.
Use technology. I saw report which was very disturbing the other day, where in a particular district, teachers resisted the use of technology in order to monitor their attendance in classrooms. What is this? I mean, this is an issue which, as a government, we are committed to deal with a very heavy hand.
Absolutely, okay. Talking of technology, I come to Brother Solomon because COVID has taught us a lot, right? It has taught us to be home and still continue with education, and technology played a very crucial and important role. Of course, there was a network issue in certain areas, but all in all, I think most of our students have learned that we have to now coexist with a blended mode of education, that is classroom as well as with the use of technology at home also. So according to you, can technology play the role of enhancing education?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the way the technology is moving, I mean, I checked with the kids 3 months ago.
Okay.
For me, ChatGPT was something new, and I went to the class thinking that I knew it all. And I asked the boys, how many guys are familiar with ChatGPT? About 30 fellows put their hands up. I said, oh God, these guys are way ahead. But the thing is, I'll tell you where the problem is. I'd love to introduce digital library. I'd love to introduce tablets in school, get the kids to bring their own devices, learn. We have to educate our children not to get distracted. We have to educate. I'm not saying they're doing something wrong. They get distracted. A lot of our kids are into Instagram, WhatsApp, they're into YouTubes, they want to be YouTubers. I have no issues with that. But their academics is suffering. These kids then they get into pressure mode, they cannot meet deadlines, they get depressed, they have huge mental health issues. I'm saying that. And that is something we need to address. We need to educate our children. And definitely technology is the way forward. I mean, I feel.
And talking of technology, if I can bring in Sir Jagdish, how is artificial intelligence playing a role?
Over a period of time, it has always been seen that
It's a very interesting thing, right? Because
Yeah.
AI is being spoken about. So if you can just fill in for the sake of our students also,
Perfect.
Yeah.
So over a period of time, it has always been seen that technology always disrupts the job market in general.
Right.
So for the first time, when the first industrial revolution came, the bullock carts were out of job. The second time, when the chemicals and other things came, then the natural dyes were out of job. So similarly, in this is kind of a fourth industrial revolution as we see it. It's an information technology revolution, and the most recent part of that revolution is the artificial intelligence. In this, what we see today is many of the manual work, manual as in things about drafting. So for example, I had to give ask for an explanation letter from one of my subordinates. I put it on ChatGPT and got the simple format to it. It was easier to actually get it done rather than to actually go through it. But this also allowed me to save time of my subordinates and myself. So technology will be there, and technology will always disrupt the job markets. But good thing about technology has always been that it creates more jobs than it takes out of the job market. And similar will happen with artificial intelligence as well. We will be able to explore potential of our humankind, which is not usually understood till now. And we will move towards a shift in that job sector as well. If I can add one more point to it. I think at this point of time, because we have spoken about so much about skill and so much about learning gaps and other things, I think this is our time where we can, as Sahima was also saying, that in our curriculum, it is time that we have inclusion of skill as a discipline introduce. This can go in the lines which have been taken under Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Himachal and Chhattisgarh. They have done it very well. They've introduced courses from 9th to 12th class.
Okay.
It's a 4-year curriculum for them. It's a semester based where they get the diploma at the end of the 12th class.
All right.
It's a level by level, so level 1, 2, 3 and 4. And by the 4th year, they are able to pursue a degree in that subject if they want to, or can actually pursue a job legally in that pursuit if they want to. So such kind of interventions from the administrative side, the policy side can introduce introduction to artificial intelligence or things as simple as, which we do it in ITIs. So we can do it in a much more blended mode with our current education system itself.
Right, right. Quick word from you, Rahul, before we move on to another segment, that is the teaching approach that we need to adopt to.
See, there are three kinds of learners. We have auditory learners, we have kinesthetic learners, and we have visual learners. When I am teaching in the class, it's only the auditory learners who capture the most. We are leaving out the kinesthetic learners who learn by doing, and the visual learners who learn by seeing. So unless we use all three modes in the class, we are not catering to the entire class. And, on an average, 33% of your class is one kind. And the teacher should be able to find out who is which kind of learner. Some of them are very obvious. There are certain learners in the class, and you students would know this. Whenever a teacher says something, there is a particular student who repeats that. Those are auditory learners. They have to listen to them say the same thing again to learn it. They're not being bad students. They're not being disturbing elements in the class. It's just that they're being their best. They're trying to do their best in the class.
Right, right.
So we must recognize this, and therefore this technology is absolutely essential.
So coming to the teaching approach, because this is another segment we would like to touch upon. It's good that you said that teachers should use technology, a classroom should be more interactive and technology-oriented. But then, are our teachers equipped enough, trained enough, qualified enough to tackle these changes? So is there any such, from our education department that is there in the pipeline for training teachers? But before that, you want to say something.
I want to say something because using of skill is very much required. See, for example, in the existing system, just like what someone has pointed out, that government is entering that app for teachers' attendance. Everybody will not like that, I know. But then, you see, say for example, for monitoring also of students' performance, we can do that. We don't need an app also. We can use even whatever is there. During the COVID period, we have got those classes, Google classes. They work very well. In those, if those teachers, as Rahul has pointed out, they are passionate teachers, but everybody is not like that. But then you see, technology can really be used, and of course, government, I don't know what is in their mind, but technology has to be used not only to monitor the attendance of teachers, but also to monitor the performance of students in every school. This is very important, because only then, if you strengthen this department, they must be having this supervision and inspection team. Government is already there. What they have to do is just reorganize.
All right.
So it is there. I'm not talking about new system being brought in. I'm talking about what Chief Minister has pointed out, using the existing system,
yes.
with a new vision, with a new perspective. It will not involve money there. So government can use this. Say, monitoring that students' performance, monitoring the attendance of teachers. If this thing can be done, within a period of 1 year, we can review this. Then we can find out how effective is our system. And I think things will improve. So this is few lines I would like to add.
All right. Points very well taken. I come to Bahima. What is there in the pipeline for training, upscaling the teachers?
Moshmi, let me just address what Thank you has just mentioned. He was mentioning relating to the attendance app. The Ministry of HRD has rolled out a project. This project is called Vidya Shiksha Kendra, VSK. Now, under this VSK program, an app will be rolled out wherein the performance of a classroom will be monitored. It is just not attendance of the teachers. It is also attendance of the students and the way that the teachers are imparting education and the way that the children are learning. So this is going to be introduced very shortly. This is mandatory as directed by the central government. So therefore, I would like to make it very clear to all the teachers here and the students that do not get carried away by certain news that are coming out that schools in a particular part of the state are being monitored for the attendance of the teachers. Now we are yet to roll out throughout the state. Once this project gets rolled out, it is called VSK. Now this project, once it's rolled out, it is there to monitor just not the teachers, it will monitor the students, it will monitor the way that education is being imparted inside the classroom. That is one. And then the second part, you were talking about the?
About upscaling and training the teachers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relating to recruitment of teachers. Now, see, teachers in the government are recruited only those who are DLED pass. DLED qualified after the DLED training course that they have undergone. Then they have also to pass out an entrance eligibility test, which is called MTET exams. Now, only after that, these teachers are recruited by the government and appointed in their respective schools.
Right.
Our survey has shown us that there are substantial number of teachers who are yet to be trained. Now, relating to this, myself and the Honorable Minister, we have met certain authorities in Delhi last week, and we have been given an assurance that a one-time training amnesty program will be given to them so that they will clear all the training at that point of time. Therefore, once we get all those teachers trained, I think we will be having only qualified teachers teaching in all the government schools and the government ad hoc and deficit schools.
All right, all right. There is one issue, a large issue that we need to talk about and we need to address is the school dropout. Bapal, this is very significant and very high. Ever since COVID, it has come down more. There can be various reasons that can be cited. But what is the government really doing? And Bahima also, if you can quickly give us some insights on addressing, on checking and countering this, this high rate of dropout that we are seeing amongst our children.
I believe that since Meghalaya records one of the highest dropout rates in the country, this issue has to be addressed very aggressively. There should be incentivization for enrollment of students, and also some of the issues like the frequency with which the curriculum and textbooks are changed. You know, this is one major area that became a burden to parents to support their children to go to school. I remember that when we were in school, we, as an entire family, there were 7 of us, and we would pass down our textbooks, you know, to our younger brother, younger sister.
The hand-me-downs, yes.
Annually. And that went on for about 10 years. So everybody could use the same books.
Right.
But today you have a board, MBOs, the frequency with which books are changed and the number of textbooks being prescribed became a burden, which is why a state like Mizoram, most of their leaders started off by educating themselves, getting educated here in Shillong. Today, they produce IAS officers every year, and Meghalaya has not been able to do so in the last 10 years. This is where the dropout rate can be brought down drastically if we address these issues. Why have hundreds of textbooks when Mizoram could make do with less than 60? So These are core areas which needs to be addressed, and I'm confident that we will address them. But having trained, qualified teachers is a must. This rate of 43% of unqualified teachers has to be brought down immediately, and the target should be that it should come down to less than 10% in the next 5 years.
Okay, I'm sure it will be, because we have dynamic leaders right at the forefront, and the willingness for change is there. I mean, there is a saying, where there is a will, there is a way. So I think we are on the right track. You know, talking about the dropouts, because we have teachers there quickly. Yeah, you want to, yes, Mr. Chilani.
I wanted to add.
Yeah.
The ratio of dropouts that we have today is also calculation error as well, because the earlier calculations were done as per the previous survey and were extrapolated to the general numbers. And now with the SDMIS, which is a student database management system that has come in, we are now taking school by school. Every classroom are being recorded on the SDMIS along with their information. And that has brought out actual number of students that we have in the state.
Okay.
So that earlier survey that was done, if I'm not wrong, by you guys, which had given the overall numbers, but the actual dropout is not 21%. There is some truth to that, but the actual dropout would not be 21. It
not
would be
so
much
bad.
lesser
Okay.
than 10% as well.
All right, that's heartening to know. That's heartening. But then we have educators. Brother Solomon, quickly you want to come in? How do we check the dropout? I mean, maybe you can give certain ideas to our administrators also here. Quickly, I want a very, very quick, short answer.
The dropout in the city and in the rural, there are two different things.
Different
One,
things,
it probably is because of the financial reasons. In the city, it could be because the kids can't cope up with the pressure. How do you stop that? I suppose make your teaching engaging and exciting. One solution.
Relating to these dropouts, I would like to attribute, or rather endorse, what Honorable Minister Paul has just mentioned. While endorsing this, his views, I also would like to say that the dropouts in our state are also due to certain social issues. Now, these social issues are that there are, even now in the rural areas, parents who do not encourage their children to go for further studies. Now, this is an issue where I think we need to address, an issue where we need to create an awareness to all the parents that every child is important. Now, for example, if they have 8 children in the family, the parents would say that, okay, I can support only for 4 children, and 4 children should go and look for some other livelihood. This is one big issue. Therefore, this is one. The second issue is now, like we heard from Madam Ampreen, she stressed on one taboo that is happening in the state, that is teenage pregnancy. There is a lot of dropouts at that age of 16, 17. I would appeal to all my girl children here, kindly refrain from doing such things, because we need you in the state. Because there's a lot that is waiting for you in the future. You pass out, you become somebody in life, then you think of your own home later. These are the few social things that I would like to address, which needs to be spoken here openly in front of the children and also in front of the teachers. And I would request the teachers to kindly have frequent parent-teacher meetings. This is a must. I've seen in most rural areas we do not have parent-teacher meetings. This is why you do not know what is wrong with the child. That is why when the child fails 1 year, he or she do not want to continue to stay in the same classroom. That's why they need counseling. They need to be given that kind of, the backup by the family and by the teacher as well.
Mbak Changdang's point out is very correct, because if you go to rural areas of Meghalaya, actually the main cause is poverty.
Poverty, right?
So how to tackle this? My suggestion is that in whatever schools they have now, government has got a number of
You can bring
schools.
your mic closer again.
Yeah. See, what happens is that they can use the existing infrastructure in terms of teachers, in terms of infrastructure. Why not open a morning school or an evening school, say 2.5 hours daily, using the same teachers with some incentive? That will be a practical solution, because this is being tried out. I have seen a lot of students are come to evening school.
Okay. Because they work during the
Yeah,
daytime.
they work
yes.
in the morning or in the daytime.
Yeah. So this
This
is
is
a
a
thought
practical way
maybe,
to
yes,
solve this problem.
our administrators will take it up. But then coming to this serious aspect of mental health, which is often not discussed, but there is a problem. Students suffer from immense stress, depression, etc. In the urban areas, we may have a counselor in a school to address it, or somebody to take care of this. But Brother Solomon, in the rural areas, it is not the same. Where do they go?
I think the training of teachers, we need to just train people who are equipped with these
We
skills.
should keep a separate person, right, for that?
Sorry?
A separate counselor, a separate teacher to address this issue.
There are courses available. I know there are, some of our teachers are doing it. For 16,000 rupees, we are getting a diploma in counseling. Why can't we empower students, no?
The
Sorry?
community also can play a role.
Absolutely.
The,
That's why
yeah.
when Sir mentioned regarding the PTM, I would like to extend that to a community engagement model where, I'm sure we can get people who can be trained,
Right.
the basics of counseling,
Well, I mean, I can go on and on really talking about then what I've understood so far is that there's so many wonderful ideas that has come, so many policies that is coming ahead of us. And I'm sure that when we talk about Meghalaya, preparing Meghalaya for the world, we are on the right track. We are definitely, there are interesting things that is going to happen, and leaders are there from the forefront. And as I said right in the beginning, that each of us are stakeholders. Each of us have to play a role. As teacher, we have to play a role. As community leaders, we have to play a role. As administrators, as political leaders, etc., we all have to play a role, because the children are the future generation, and we need to have a good, a set of students and the youth to take the state ahead for the next 50 years. Thank you so much to each one of you. Ba Paul, Bahima Shampriang, Sir Jagdish, Mr. Thank you, Brother Solomon Pinsuklin, and Rahul, for giving us such a wonderful, this engaging discussion that we had. And I'm sure many of our students' community also enjoyed this conversation. Right, so on that note, thank you so much. And maybe go ahead in the right direction. Once again, a big round of applause, students and everybody, for our panelists out here. Thank you so much.